in editing for 2-3 years, which was the case. I give a lot of credit to our team. So I think it was so valuable for us to bring on a couple really talented editors, Ken Schneider and Tina Nguyen. But I think that probably the most challenging part of the storytelling aspect was figuring out how we were able to incorporate like the victim's perspective in at least a little bit of the film. So incorporating the letter from one of the victims, and then even like the final scene of Eddie finally being able to kind of deliver the apology letter. I think that was one of the most challenging, but we also knew we didn't want to shy away from kind of the details of the crime and the trauma of the crime, because I feel oftentimes the narrative around and the debate around criminal justice reform and immigration reform is often kind of pitted as this good prisoner versus bad prisoner, or good immigrant versus bad immigrant. So even like Obama's message of like, oh, we want to deport felons, not families, as if there's not people who commit crimes who have families. And so I think I came to the project actually not primarily or in addition to kind of having a filmmaker hat, I also came to the project really as a member of the Asian Prisoner Support Committee. And I've just been really influenced, I feel, by spending time inside with the San Quentin Roots program. And many of them are in similar situations that Eddie was in, doing life in prison, doing double life, doing 75 years to life. And one of the guys always sticks with me. His name is Sonny. He talked about how for basically his whole life he was treated as a monster, and so he really internalized that and kind of acted out in that way. But that someone shared with him that he's not defined. He doesn't have to be defined by this crime. Like, he's more than just this one act he did when he was 16 years old. And so that was kind of the goal of the film, I think, to just kind of show a deeper human perspective beyond, not to shy away from the crime, but to explore the crime and then also show the depth of a human being such as Eddie.
Thank you. Couple of questions. Has the film been presented or shown in prisons around the country? Another question, who is the woman to whom the film is dedicated? And lastly, for those folks who do get deported, as in the case of Eddie's friend who was sent back to China, how are they received? Are they imprisoned then there, or what happens?
Thank you, really great questions. I can maybe touch on the first two a little bit. So actually our world premiere of the film in February this year was actually in San Quentin State Prison. So we showed it to members of the San Quentin Roots program, as well as other folks in the prison there. A lot of lifers and a lot of the Asian and Pacific Islander community were there. We also actually showed Melee Murals in San Quentin also last month, which is the closing night film tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, the premiere was really important for us to be able to show it to some of the folks who were included in the film, and also hopefully, I think some of the feedback we got was, it was a little bit of light, that they could hold on to in terms of, Eddie being someone that they can really look up to. The second question, so the film is dedicated to Yuri Kochiyama, who's a longtime Japanese-American human rights activist and longtime supporter for political prisoners and other incarcerated folks. She worked with Malcolm X when she lived in Harlem for many years, and then moved out to California, but basically and she was also interned during World War II in the internment camps. So she's just had such a huge influence on kind of like the political prisoner support movement, as well as the prisoner rights movement for over 40 years. And that's actually how I first heard about Eddie, through Yuri Kochiyama. And Yuri visited Eddie when he was in prison, when he was in solitary confinement. Yuri went to go visit him and support him, really helped with his campaign for freedom. And that's how I first heard about Eddie and the Asian Prisoner Support Committee, which she was a co-founder.
So, as a third question, I think that, for the person that we actually deported in my client, that when he went to China, they actually didn't let him in because they say that, who are you? How do you get here? They say, well, I got the document from the US government to be able to be here. They say, well, who do you know? Do you know anyone in Guangzhou, right, which is the southern part of China that he was deported to? He said, yeah, I have an uncle there. He said, okay, if we give you a picture of your uncle, would you be able to recognize who he is? He said, yes. So they did research, they took his uncle's picture, mixed up with other people's picture, and then just showed it to him and said, who's your uncle? So he picked out his uncle. So they, okay, great. So they gave him a free ticket from Beijing to Guangzhou, right? Because, so basically like, who are you? Why are you coming here, right? So after that, pretty much, he tried to get work there, then he wasn't able to get much of the work done, so he was able to get married and have a kid, but his older sister is actually taking care of him from the United States, right, financially, to help him and his family out there. So now Narin Chin, just from the One Love movement, just came up here to share a little bit about what they do. So for many of the Cambodian deportees who were in Cambodia, when they first sent them back, they had nothing, right? So for many of them, they weren't even from Cambodia, right? Their grandparents may be from Cambodia, but they were born in refugee camps, whether it's in Thailand, Hong Kong, or Malaysia, so they never been back. And they were Americanized in the sense that they didn't know their language, they didn't know their culture as much as a native does. So when they were sent back, then they deal with the government, it was tough for them at the beginning, right? And then later on, they were able to start a transition, a house by some of the people that really care about this issue. And then slowly they were able to try to get them in. But I think some of the challenges of them being there is like, number one is that they've been separated from their family. Some of them, they have children out here, their wives